Imagine a young man, Joseph, with a heart full of dreams, literally. He saw sheaves of grain bowing to his, and stars and the moon paying homage. These weren't mere fantasies. They were divine seeds planted by God, revealing a future purpose Joseph couldn't yet grasp. His brothers? Not so thrilled. Their jealousy, simmering beneath the surface, was about to boil over. Unbeknownst to them, even their malicious intent was being woven by God's hand into the very first, difficult threads of Joseph's destiny. One day, they seized their chance. Stripped of his famous coat, Joseph was thrown into a pit, then sold into slavery, bound for Egypt. Can you feel that sting of betrayal? We can only imagine the questions, the pain, the despair he must have felt. Yet even as he was dragged away, alone and abandoned, Joseph held onto a quiet, almost imperceptible strength, a deep conviction that God's hand, though hidden, was still guiding his path. This wasn't misfortune. This was the painful, divinely ordained journey to a new land, a necessary step for the fulfillment of those very dreams. In Egypt, Joseph didn't rage against his enslavement. Instead, he chose excellence, and the Lord was with Joseph, causing everything he did to prosper. His quiet strength manifested in his integrity and diligence, rising quickly to manage everything in Potiphar's house. God's hand was clearly seen in his success, preparing him even in servitude for greater things. But then came another twist, a false accusation from Potiphar's wife. This wasn't a random event. It was God's direct placement of Joseph into yet another trial, refining his character and moving him strategically through hardship to the next stage of his intricate plan. Prison, another devastating blow, seemingly a dead end, orchestrated by injustice. Yet even in chains, Joseph's spirit remained unbroken. God's presence was still undeniable. He was given favor with the jailer, and in this unlikely place, God's hand once again positioned him. He continued to serve, using his God-given gift to interpret dreams for fellow prisoners. When the cupbearer forgot him for 2 long years, this wasn't an oversight. It was God's perfect timing, allowing Joseph to mature and ensuring that his release would come at the most opportune moment, specifically through Pharaoh's urgent need, a masterpiece of divine orchestration. Then Pharaoh himself had disturbing dreams. Chaos reigned in the court as no one could interpret them. Suddenly, precisely when Pharaoh's need was greatest, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. This wasn't coincidence. This was divine intervention, God's hand directly opening the prison doors at the exact moment he intended, placing Joseph, a former slave and prisoner, directly before the most powerful man in Egypt. Every step of hardship had led to this divinely appointed moment. Joseph, embodying true quiet power, didn't claim the credit. He humbly stated, "God will give Pharaoh the answer." He explained the dreams with profound clarity and offered a pragmatic plan for survival. Pharaoh, recognizing not just Joseph's intellect, but the divine wisdom and profound spiritual strength behind it, placed him second in command over all of Egypt. It was God's hand, working through Joseph's obedience and insight, that allowed him to rise from the depths of hardship to the pinnacle of power, not for his own glory, but to prepare the way for his greater purpose. The famine came, just as Joseph predicted, and who should come seeking food but his own brothers, the very ones who sold him? They bowed before him, unknowingly fulfilling his childhood dreams. This wasn't fate. This was the ultimate unfolding of God's sovereign plan, bringing them through the very hardship of famine to Joseph's feet. Joseph, now a man of immense power, yet still possessing that quiet discernment, faced an agonizing choice. His quiet power, rooted in his understanding that even their initial malice was under God's control, allowed him to transcend raw emotion, to see a bigger picture, to test their hearts and consider God's larger plan unfolding through their reconciliation. Finally, Joseph could no longer hold back. He revealed himself not with anger, but with profound grace. His quiet power culminated in an act of deep, almost unimaginable forgiveness. "Do not be distressed," he told them, "for God sent me ahead of you to preserve life." This was the ultimate expression of God's providence, seen and accepted by Joseph. He understood, through years of quiet reflection and unwavering faith, that his suffering was not meaningless. Every betrayal, every prison cell, every false accusation, each hardship was part of a divine tapestry, meticulously woven by God's hand to transform pain into purpose and to guide him to a position where he could save his family and countless others. His deep faith allowed him to see God's hand in every single trial and to extend mercy that only true spiritual strength, fueled by an understanding of his perfect plan, can provide. Joseph's story isn't just an ancient tale. It's a profound blueprint for cultivating quiet power and deep faith, especially in the waiting and enduring of hardship. In every pit, every prison, every moment of waiting and unfairness, he chose not to react with bitterness, but to respond with an inner strength grounded in God. He saw God's hand in every twist, every turn, trusting that even the darkest moments were part of a greater divine design. This wasn't passive acceptance. It was an active, persistent trust that transformed his trials into triumphs. It teaches us that true strength often lies not in our loud declarations, but in the quiet, steadfast commitment of our hearts, seeing God's providential hand guiding every step, even the most painful ones, shaping us and fulfilling his ultimate purpose. What kind of quiet power, rooted in God's undeniable providence, are we cultivating in our own waiting rooms of life? Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share.